As a country on the crossroads of several cultural regions, the modern-day territory of Serbia has been inhabited and controlled by a wide variety of peoples, such as the ancient Macedonians, the Ottoman Turks, the Austrians, and many more. Before I start this video though, I'd like to point out that I'm using sources that will be deemed trustworthy in Western Europe. If anything I say sounds controversial to you, please know that I'm not trying to offend anyone and that is most likely just a misunderstanding. Please comment anything you feel like I got wrong and please don't dislike the video because of it. Serbia, like Poland, is just naturally very strategic land to own. This in part is the reason why the Greeks colonized the south as early as the 11th century BC. Actually, the northernmost part of the ancient Macedonian Empire was in the south of modern-day Serbia. Meanwhile, in the north of Serbia, the land was primarily inhabited by the Thracians, until the Illyrians migrated into the region, pushing them out. Illyrian tribes would remain in control of Serbia and its surroundings up until the Romans came to conquer it all, between 167 BC and 106 AD. The city of Sirmium in modern-day Serbia was actually one of the biggest cities of the late Roman Empire, and for a short time during the fall of the empire even the capital. Besides this, 17 Roman emperors were born in modern-day Serbia, and the region of the empire, and especially the Dalmatian coast, was seen as one of the most Romanized regions of the empire. After the fall of the empire, huge amounts of Slavs invaded the Balkans, settling in the land and establishing the Serbian Principality in the early 7th century. By 822, the Serbs would control the majority of the former Roman province of Dalmatia. Serbia at this time was one of the main powers in southeastern Europe, along with the Byzantines and the Bulgarian Empire. In 870, Christianity was adopted by the Serbian leaders, and in 1217, Stephen I crowned established the Serbian Kingdom. The Serbian Kingdom saw its biggest growth during the reign of Stefan Dušan, who saw the Byzantine Civil War as a great chance to attack and conquer lands as far south as the Peloponnese Peninsula. This led to him being crowned Emperor of Serbs and Greeks in 1346. This time of prosperity would soon end with the Battle of Kosovo in 1389 against the Ottoman Empire, symbolizing the fall of the medieval Serbian state. Although the Serbian despotate would still exist for another 60 years, this Serbian state would also fall to the Ottomans in 1459. During the first 80-ish years of Ottoman rule, many Serbs migrated north to the Hungarian dependency of Vojvodina, where they were usually hired to work as soldiers or border guards. Other than that, the next couple centuries of Serbian history were mostly characterized by wars between the Christian Europeans and the Ottoman Turks. Most of these wars were predominantly fought between the Austrians and Ottomans, and especially the Great Turkish War, with the Holy League consisting of the Holy Roman Empire, Russia, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, Venice, Hungary, Spain and many more fighting against the Ottomans, was a key moment in Serbian history. Serbian rebel groups fought alongside the Holy League and organized uprisings and terrorism against the Ottoman occupiers. Unfortunately though, this war wouldn't lead to Serbian independence, and Christian troops put out of Ottoman lands in 1699. Some other conflicts happened between the Austrians and Ottomans, but most of these weren't nearly as important to Serbia as the Great Turkish War. In 1804, a Serbian uprising against the Ottomans was organized by Đorđe Petrović, and later in 1815 another was organized by Miloš Obrenović. These two uprisings led to Serbia gaining de facto independence from the Ottoman Empire in 1817. This was when kebab was finally removed. It would still take until 1878 though for the Serbian Principality to be recognized by other countries due to the Russo-Turkish War. In 1882, the Serbian Principality became the Kingdom of Serbia, and the years after this were characterized primarily by conflict between two dynasties claiming the throne, but also great progress when it came to art, culture and economy, because the state sent young people to several European capital cities to get an education there. When in 1885 Bulgaria and Eastern Rumelia unified, Serbia attacked Bulgaria, but ended up losing the war. In 1903, Đorđe Petrovic's grandson committed a coup and became King Peter I. This king was much more liberal than the other kings and made Serbia into a constitutional monarchy. Later, during the First Balkan War, the Ottomans were pushed back to eastern Thrace and Serbia gained many lands in the south. As discussed in another video though, Bulgaria was unsatisfied with their gains and the Second Balkan War started, with Bulgaria eventually losing. In 1914, Austrian Crown Prince Franz Ferdinand was assassinated by Bosnian Serb Gavrilo Princip, sparking an Austrian invasion of Serbia. But because Serbia was allied to Russia, which was allied to France, which was allied to Britain, and because Austria was allied to Germany, who hated France, oh yeah, you know how it went. Serbia, contrary to all expectations, actually managed to halt the Austrians. Despite having a population of only 4.6 million, 350,000 men were called to arms, and combining this with tactical guerrilla fighting, the Serbians managed to keep the Austrians out. I guess they got tired of removing kebab and felt like removing apfelstrudel for once. Unfortunately for the Serbs, this didn't last long. In 1915, Germany decided to help Serbia out and the kingdom was invaded by Austrian and Bulgarian forces. Only about 70,000 Serbian soldiers managed to escape to Greece through Albania and the sea. The Allies were preparing a grand offensive though, and in September 1918 Bulgaria was capitulated. In November that same year the occupied Serbian lands were also liberated, and shortly after the Great War ended. During the war, Serbia suffered 1,264,000 casualties, which is about 28% of their total population and 58% of their male population. To this day, Serbia still hasn't recovered from this war fully. After the war, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes was created, which would later be known as Yugoslavia to stop tensions between the different ethnic groups making up the country. This didn't help though, as the king was assassinated in Marseille in 1934 and Croatian nationalists managed to force a Croatian administrative province in 1939. To make things even worse, Yugoslavia found itself with hostile neighbors on all sides except for Greece. And on the 6th of April 1941, the Axis powers invaded Yugoslavia and the government fled to London. The Germans installed many concentration camps in Yugoslavia and created a Croatian puppet state. It would take until 1944 for the Soviet Red Army to liberate Yugoslavia. Almost 11% of the total Yugoslav population died in this war, or about 1.7 million people. After the war, Yugoslavia became a socialist country under the leadership of the League of Communists of Yugoslavia, led by Josip Broz Tito. Despite being socialist though, Yugoslavia tried to distance itself from the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact, and has always stayed somewhat open to the Western world. Skipping forward to 1991, the ethnic tensions had finally gotten too bad and the country broke up in a war and ended with Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Macedonia becoming independent states. During this war, about 140,000 people died, most of them were Bosniak. The country then transformed into the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, and after 2003, the State Union of Serbia and Montenegro. In 1999, Kosovo became a UN protectorate following the UN mission in Kosovo. This eventually led up to Kosovo declaring their independence in 2008, although Serbia still does not recognize this. Earlier, in 2006, a referendum was held in Montenegro where 55% of the voters voted in favor of independence. After Montenegro left the State Union of Serbia and Montenegro, just Serbia was left. This is where Serbia is now, a relatively small country in the Balkans that has managed to recover from 3 major wars in the 20th century. Now, Serbia's main challenges are the Kosovo dispute and deciding whether they want to join the European project or remain fully independent.